This is the brush I use a lot in watercolor, and it's a hake brush. This is called hake. Hake, and it's made from goat hair. And you'll see me using this in a few minutes for the big, lighter areas because it holds a tremendous amount of water. And it's stitched, not stapled or metal wrapped around. It's stitched. That's an important part of this brush, is that it breathes. If you look at it from the side, you can see that it's got a lot of space in there. If we're looking at Chinese and Japanese brushes, let's look at a detailed brush. All bamboo handles. These will all have bamboo handles. And this is goat hair. This is one that has goat hair and pony hair mixed. And it has a place to hang it, because these brushes don't do well this way. They do better. They're hanging. This is a calligraphy brush that has to get a lot of water to go back into a point. But again, it has to hang this way. And it's the pony hair. There is no plastic used in any of these brushes, and they've been used for hundreds and hundreds of years. This is a slightly smaller than the other detailed brush. Very much just painting with this, just the tip of the brush. The tip tells the story, and so the lines that are made with this are very dark, because that's where the ink is. This brush is used, we're always holding these brushes like this. We're not holding them like this. We're not holding them like this. It's this. Your wrist is very important. This is a short, stubby brush where you use the whole brush to make the line, but again, the back end of it holds much more water than the front. So you're going to get that gradation inside the brush. That gradation is very important. This brush, again, it's holding it this way. This is a brush that holds an enormous amount of water, and it's horsehair. Horsehair, not pony. And it has some goat, but mostly horsehair. And this is making a big stroke. And we'll see that in a few minutes. Another short, roundish brush that's made for not big swipes, but short strokes. Bamboo pen, the large one. We have small ones and we have large ones, but this is the bamboo with the large one. The smaller one would go in here. And these brushes I've had for many years, so that I don't know where the small brush is that used to be in the back of it. This is a great to draw with. And draw anything, Western style or Eastern style, whatever, but if you're drawing, and it's a bamboo, all one piece of bamboo cut, and then cut in here to make it where it holds the ink. This is another one that has a brush here and had another piece of, and this is for writing. This is calligraphy, not painting. The difference between calligraphy and painting is the variations in the stroke, and sometimes the size of the brush may be, but not all the time. Okay, we're going to use two types of paper here. These come from Japan, and if you hold them up to the light, you can see how transparent they are. It is rough on one side and smooth on the other. Has a coating on one side, that makes the smoothness, and back here is the natural way of the. When I put the ink on this side, it runs more. If I put the ink on this side, it moves more, and then sometimes you want both to happen, but that's what this paper does, is goyoku. And this one is Tarinko. Tarinko looks the same, but it doesn't respond the same. It's more transparent. Consequently, it has less of the treatment of the one side to make the blacks blacker, the lights lighter, all that. And on this side, anyway, let's take a look at both papers and see. They don't look terribly different, but they act terribly different. Okay. This one I'm going to use the rough side. And the inks I'm going to use are Japanese, and they have a little bit of shellac in them, so they're closer to almost an India ink, but you can go back over them without bleeding too much. I'm going to use, down here I have a bucket of a gray wash, and the hake brush, that's going here. Going here again, it holds a tremendous amount of water. I'm going to take these heads that I've been using. I'm going to take this as a lighter dark. I got water in with this ink, and the other one I don't have any water in the ink. It absorbs on this side more. It's more absorbent. Consequently, it's not going to run too far. I want the ink to flow. Now on this one, I'm going to take the polished side, or the side with the sizing on it. And because I want to have a little more control over it, I'm going to take some of my stamps here. I'll just hold the paper. Okay, I'm going to take this and use the blackest ink. That's the straight ink right here. And this brush, I could take it many directions. It's like an abstract expressionist painting. Or I can make it into mountains and rivers, or whatever I want to do with it. Get more dimension out of the dark shapes and the dark lines. This brush, I can push it to get that line, then wipe it down. Sending another direction. I always keep a big bucket of water down here, and I let the grays become grayer and grayer and then darker and darker, and keep using it as part of my values. My values are my colors in painting. the brush. The very tip, and I make my line. Take the side, and break that up. When you use real expensive Japanese papers, you're really talking about sometimes $20 a sheet, $25 a sheet, sometimes $10 a sheet. But these ones that I'm using are very good for demonstrations, and they're very good quality. They're just more mass produced. I'm waiting for this to dry over here and bring in a detail brush. Again, I'm just using the tip of this brush, but I want it to bleed so that it's just it's just darker than the rest of it, or the eye, mouth, nose. Brush like this is not of no use until it gets wet. But when it gets wet, it's like having the middle of something here that makes a line that is in the middle. You can control it. This is almost like a ballpoint pen if it had a brush, and they make them now, the brushes that look like ballpoint pens in your pocket, and you open it up and it has ink cartridge inside, and it has a little brush.
Yeah, I've got a few, the Pentel.
Huh?
It's a Pentel.
Pentel, yeah. Right. So this acts like that, and you make a line like that. You're not going to ask it to flood anything. You're not going to ask to hold a lot of water. You're just going to use the straight ink with it. Don't ask it to do what it's not made to do. Never ask a brush to do what it's not made to do. So if I'm looking around and I want a little bit lighter, I'll go to this one. And this one where I put some water into the ink. press down on it, I got that. But if I don't press down on it, I get this. If I put a lot of water in this, it bleeds a little, but I don't get those big bleeding things like I have in this profile over here, or the big abstracted wind tunnels or whatever you want to call them up there. I like the title wind tunnels. Let's look and see what the bamboo pen does. Just barely, those lines, just barely there. Not important, but they are important in its own quiet way being there. Okay, let's hold this one up to the light. You can see what the ink does to the paper and what the water does to the ink, and so on. Because this is on the side that has the coating on it, it's holding the lines. It's not as bleeding as much. But when it goes up into the light, you can see. I'd almost like to have this as a painting with the light behind it. Like for framing it, maybe you can have it with the light behind the painting. This one, which is with a lot of water, and on the more absorbent side of the paper, and that little line we just made with the pen shows up more, just like little spots on the edge. Now remember, they're two different papers. They had two different names, and they're made in two different towns in Japan. Let's take a look at some of these that I've been doing with these faces that I've been working on for months and years. I'm going to from this gray to a lighter dark, to a dark, and then to a dark. And that gives me the dimension in the piece. Some pieces I want to just kind of brush lightly, get a texture, and then come in with the dark. Sometimes I want a heavy dark, but I started off with that middle gray. Sometimes I want to use the brush with less water and make a texture around, and then put more water into the ink and let it float over the textures. Here I use the darks just in the small areas, the mouth, the nose, the lower lip, and the chin. And the eyes go a little bit lighter, the nose goes the darkest. Here I have two profiles and then the sky in the center, but I'm using the ink to its darkest. That's the blackest black I can get out of those, the inks. If I want to activate the surface more, I use less water and let the brush do its magic. And then come in with the darks. Sometimes I'll grab something that hits me and it starts to do that, then I'll get one of my scrapers from the paint store. I'll play with it, the beard, and then bring one side up but nothing on the other side. All I'm doing with these is playing with them. It's very important that you allow yourself to play with these brushes and with these different papers and the inks. When we're talking about ink, we're talking about also the Chinese inks, the Chinese calligraphy inks, which are very high in quality. And remember that the inks are made from burnt soot. So the blackest black is not as black as you could get in some Western paintings with the carbon black. But in this case, this ink is made for writing, but you can draw it beautifully with it. But it doesn't have any shellac in it, so it doesn't seal. In other words, you hit it with water, it's going to bleed. Let's look one more. Let's look at another way of looking at these. I'll take one of the Taekwondo's papers. The variety you can get in the line. All out of one brush. Okay, I'm going to go back to my Hake brush. And it's one of my favorite brushes I ever had. More Afro-American, maybe a dark Mexican. But the important thing is that it took me 2 seconds to do it. And if I spent more time on it, I wouldn't get it. If you learn anything about these brushes and the papers and the variety of things that you can do with them, remember that this is always artwork, and you're exploring with it, and you won't know exactly what it's going to do with these different kinds of papers, with these different inks, with the different brushes, but you know that they're made to do what they're doing.